So welcome everyone. My name is Christy and I am one of the owners at Helping Hands. And welcome to our monthly Meet the Team. We are doing things parents wish they knew before having a baby. And I think this is going to be a series that we're going to do because there is a lot of things that people wish they knew. So I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of have a little bit here and there, and every month you could come and hear a little bit more information and help to clarify some stuff. So I'll give you a moment to read our background. But I think anyone who has had a baby can relate to how are you feeling and what you really want to say and what you actually end up saying. Two different things. So there is so much information out there on birth and pregnancy and postpartum, but there's still things that people don't talk about. And I think this was the motivation for putting this type of presentation together is there's lots of things actually that is just not discussed. And afterwards, if you have a good friend and you open up and you say, oh, you know, this happened, I experienced this, they're like, oh yeah, I did too. But you thought you were the only one. So we wanted to bring to light some of these things that people say, oh, I wish someone had told me that. So what we're going to talk about is how to choose a stroller and a car seat. This comes up a lot with our clients. So I'm excited about this and making it a little less overwhelming. The truth about birth. So we have a couple of tidbits we'd like to share about birth and making it a little bit more realistic. The real story on breastfeeding. So we're going to talk about what breastfeeding is really like and what one of the hardest things to manage postpartum. So we'll talk about that today as well. And this isn't what I expected. So just to give you a little teaser. So first off, we're going to have Christiane chat with us. Christiane, her friends like to affectionately call her the baby whisperer. And her favorite joke is, what do you call cheese that is not yours? Nacho cheese. I like that. And so Christiane, take it away and tell us how to navigate this whole stroller and car seat business.
Okay, hey guys, I'm glad to see everyone's faces tonight. Thank you for attending. That joke never gets old with my 3 nephews and niece. Like, they just love it. And you probably saw me giggling too, like it's ridiculous. So great. Anyway, so I am going to speak briefly tonight on stroller and car seats. And let me say that it's definitely something that not the average person knows anything about. Everyone goes in without a skill set of knowledge about strollers and car seats. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the things that I've researched and discovered and what I find to be the best in those 2 categories. So when it comes to strollers, I like to narrow it down for the purpose. So for instance, there are the strollers that are all-purpose strollers that are for everyday use and everyday activity. There's also travel systems. So unfortunately right now with COVID, we can't exactly be out traveling, but there are ones that are designed more for traveling. That way, flying, in cars, hiking, things like that. There's also lightweight strollers, which, can be really great for the city. You can pop on and off on the TTC or whatever the transportation is in your area. There's double strollers. So a lot of people think it's just for twins, and it's not, because a lot of people, that's amazing. A lot of people think that double strollers are just for twins, but really you can have them in there for up to 3, 4, 5, depending on their size. For the most part, so you can have your newborn and your young child in there as well. So those are lots of different ones. And there's also jogging strollers, which I personally have never used, but I see people constantly out in the city using them all the time. And then there's just the stroller frames. It's just like a skeleton stroller frame, and you put your car seat or bassinet, depending on what kind of frame you have, and that's how you maneuver from your car seat to your stroller. If you want to know more about strollers, you can skip on over to our blog section at Helping Hands Doula and see what we ranked as the top 5. So I did all the research and I found the top 5 that we recommend. So that's over there. And strollers aren't the only thing that are difficult, because then there's car seats and you're like, do I get a car seat? Do I get a stroller? Like, I don't really know what there is to do with all those things. Exactly. That's what they used to be like back in the day. Oh my God, it's so unsafe. But anyway, so that brings me to, from the very first day, parents are faced with countless decisions about how to keep your baby safe. So the car seat, again, there is different types and sizes, and you can literally go anywhere pretty much and look for car seats and strollers, like Walmart, even Amazon, Canadian Tire, all the big box stores. They have Babies R Us, Toys R Us, those ones like that. And what I recommend too is that, because they all vary in different prices and types, is that if you're on a budget, you see that Black Friday's coming up and Cyber Monday, those are really great days to get some really awesome deals on baby stuff, especially on strollers and car seats, because they are a bit on the higher end. We're going to be posting a blog in the next little bit on car seats as well, where we've broken down and have the best ones that we recommend. And when it comes to car seats, like how to install it, there's all these questions that you have, there's so many questions with car seats, such as like, where do I buy one? How do I know which one? Who installs it? Do I install it? I don't know who installs it. So just to touch on that a bit, there's many different private agencies out there that will do your car seat as well, but there is the Toronto Police, or police in your area. You just have to find out which division does it. The auxiliary cops do that here in Toronto. The Ministry of Transportation, they'll also be able to help you get links to where you can get your car seat installed and get it checked. Some hospitals have their security guards actually do the checking of the car seat before you leave the hospital. They usually have one person on staff that has been trained to install and check car seats. And the police, I'm not sure about other areas, smaller areas, but in the big urban areas, they do monthly car seat checks. And so they have clinics that they run, and you can register and go about it that way. So there's many questions that people have with strollers and car seats. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, but here we're going to try to, by doing our blogs, be able to help you narrow down the decision at least. And we've also done price points as well on strollers and the blog that's coming up for car seats. So take a look at that, and I hope I was able to give some assistance.
That's awesome. Thank you, Christiane. It's definitely one of the biggest stressors, I think, of new parents. And when they look at things to purchase, the stroller and the car seat seem to cause a lot of anxiety. And I think it is because there's just so much choice. So I like that you talked about, especially with strollers, what's the functionality? Like, are you just using it to go from the car to the grocery store? Or are you a jogger? That's a very different thing. And you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on a stroller if you're just going to be going from point A to point B. But yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you. So next, we are going to hear from our very own Jessica Payne, who is the co-owner of Helping Hands Doula. So she is my partner in crime, puts up with me on a regular basis. She became a doula before she even knew what a doula was. So she had some family members that asked her to be at her birth when she was very young, and got thrown into the birth world, and then in university found out about midwifery, and then fell into doula work, which is very exciting. We're grateful that that happened. She loves to go camping with her baby Ween. So her baby Ween is a wiener dog named Daisy, who is the cutest little Ween I've ever seen. I just rhymed. And so Jessica's going to talk about some surprises about birth. So some things that that are a little bit surprising when it comes to birth and what you think will happen. Take it away.
So just to clarify, I do have a wiener dog with me today, so that baby Ween makes a little bit more sense for people that need a visual. She's a pretty funny little dog. So surprises about birth. So the first one has to do with water breaking. This little image is a very cute one, but no, when your water breaks, it definitely does not come out as an icicle. Christy, if you want to go to the next slide. So water breaking, almost every client I've ever had over the last 10 years always will say to me, so the water breaks first. That's the first thing that has happened. And I think it's surprising to people because every movie or TV show that ever depicts birth always has this as the first sign. And it's almost always a super dramatic experience where, you know, a pregnant person is grocery shopping and then out of the blue, boom, water galore in between her legs. And it's a very embarrassing moment. Well, in the reality, this rarely happens. And if it does happen, it's almost always at home. So only 5 to 8% of people have a labor that starts this way, where the water breaks first, then followed by contractions. So the majority of people actually go through early labor, and then they go through active labor with really strong contractions before the water breaks. And this makes sense if you think about throwing water balloons around. If you just hold a water balloon, it's not going to spontaneously just explode. It needs to have pressure at certain points in order for it to break. So when you're having strong contractions, what's happening is your uterus is contracting and it's squeezing, and against your pelvic bones and where baby is, the pressure is just going to release. So the majority of people, their water actually breaks once they're at their place of birth, their hospital, birth center, or home birth, and they're actually 8 centimeters dilated. And in order to have a vaginal delivery, you need to be 10 centimeters dilated. So you're almost at the finishing line in reality before this phase happens. And even in more cases, a lot of people are surprised this doesn't actually always happen spontaneously. The majority of first-time clients will be having their water broken for them as an assisted intervention by their midwife or doctor, usually somewhere between 4 and 10 centimeters dilated. So this whole, your water breaks first before a baby is born is a complete misconception. So that's something to consider. Also, when your water does break, just a little add-on, water keeps leaking. This is a huge surprise for a lot of people too. They kind of expect it to be a once and done type of situation like they see on movies. But in reality, you're going to be filling an overnight pad or adult diaper in under 2 hours. And this continuously happens until your baby's born. And the reason why it happens is your baby is continuously making amniotic fluid even during labor. And only the water that is in front of baby's head is the water that's going to be released. So that's the first one. Second surprise about birth is babies are actually not usually born on the side of the highway. And we see this again in tons of movies, or we see it on breaking news. Woman delivers child on the 401. Well, the reality is this almost always never happens to first-time parents. In the situations where you do see it on the news, keep in mind it's breaking news because it's a rare event, but it's always for a subsequent baby. It's the second, third, or fourth baby, and your body has already learned how to do it once before and can do the process a lot quicker. So in reality, it's a typical long and drawn out process. Your body needs to work through each phase before baby can be born. So it goes in early labor, active labor, transition, and pushing. So to put things more into perspective, early labor for most first-time people is at least 24 hours, and it can be on and off for a couple of weeks. So that's a long amount of time. Gives you a lot of time to go to the hospital, that's for sure. And then active labor is on average of 8 to 12 hours for a first-time parent. And what that means is that you're focusing on contractions and they're coming under 5 minutes apart, lasting a minute, and they're like that for over an hour. So unless you decide to stay at home for 12 hours in the strong throes of labor, you're probably not going to deliver on the side of the road. And even if you decided to do that, first-time parents, on average, push between 1 to 2 hours before their baby is born. So it's a lot of work, and that's why they call it labor. It's not necessarily a walk in a park where baby just, your water breaks and then out pops a baby like the movies. So good thing to keep in mind, if you're comfortable staying at home and you'd like to delay going to the hospital, wait until you're in good, strong, active labor so you're not at the hospital for over a week. Just kidding, that wouldn't happen either. And lastly, birth is not as dramatic as TV. And with the last two takeaways, I think you're getting an idea with media has really played on birth as being this very dramatic scene where your water breaks, you rush to the hospital, or you give birth on the side of the road, and you're always yelling at your support person, whether it's your partner or mom or best friend, and that you're always saying, oh, I can't believe I'm in this situation, this is the worst, and you're throwing things and you're swearing. I think any birth doula that's on this call would have to agree that does not happen. It's actually a fairly boring life event, other than when you get to meet your baby and hold your baby. Of course, that's very exciting, but it's a long time. So it's good to, bring distractions, have plans to stay comfortable with different strategies, and to get really good support into place to help work through the marathon of birth, not the fast, quick, and dirty. Thank you, Christy.
All right, thank you for that. I love the misconception that the water breaking is the first sign, and then there's this rush to the hospital and huffing and puffing and screaming and yelling and swearing and you did this to me, and then baby pops out and there's like 10 minutes has passed, and that's not the way it is. So important to plan for a longer time, and it's good because it gives you time to adjust. So it's not that it's this crazy marathon where you're miserable for hours and hours and hours. It's actually good for your body to have time to adjust to each of the stages and take you through the process slower. So next we're going to hear from Sharon, who is a postpartum doula on our team. Sharon's support comes from the heart, and babies and parents feel that. And that's a comment that we get from our clients all the time. And her favorite food is cookies, and she would eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if she could. I will see her having cookies for breakfast and give her a look, and she does one of these and tries to hide. So she is going to take us through the real story on breastfeeding, and this is something that she's very passionate about. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say. And I muted her, so I just need to unmute. Something should pop up that says unmute. Yep, you're unmuted.
I'm unmuted. Okay.
There
Well,
you
welcome everybody to welcome everybody to our get together tonight. It's nice to see everybody. And yes, I would like to talk about some breastfeeding things that I think before you have your baby, you should know these things, because when we go postpartum, a lot of our moms have issues with these, and nobody's told them this. So I just want to run through a few things to talk to you about. The first thing I want you to know is that breastfeeding is not always easy. So, you know, you see other people, the baby's born and, you know, the baby just latches and munches away and everything's great. And, you know, there's no effort. And that's not always the way. A lot of moms do have to take some time to learn this skill, and the babies do as well. So the thing that I really want you to know is that if it doesn't work out the first time you put baby on breast, the second time you put baby on breast, or even the 10th time you put baby on breast, it is a learning curve for both of you. It doesn't always come just automatically, and you just have to give both you guys a chance to learn this new skill. I think one of the worst things is whenever you're pregnant, it seems like everybody wants to tell you their story. And so with breastfeeding, they just want to tell you, oh, like, oh, it was so easy. I'm just so glad I did it. Or you get the opposite ones who say, oh my God, like this happened and that happened. And they want to tell you horror stories. So do yourself a favor. Don't listen to those people, because you're different, your baby's different. And even if you've had more than one baby, you might find your breastfeeding is also different as well. One of the things I do want people to know is that breastfeeding should be a choice for mom. I have a lot of moms who feel shamed or guilted, and I think that's really unfair. You know, the mom should be the one who makes the decision about how she's going to feed her baby. And there's many ways she can feed her baby. But I don't think being bullied by hospital staff or her mom or her sister or any of these people is a really good way to go about it. The new moms need to be encouraged and fluffed up and, you know, not told what they're doing wrong, and encouraged to do the things they're doing right. So please don't ever bully people you know who are struggling with breastfeeding or have made the decision that they don't want to put baby at breast. There's lots of different ways that babies can be fed. So a lot of misconception too is that the milk comes in the minute baby's born or within 24 hours. And that is great if it happens, and some moms can do that. Some moms start lactating before birth, but that is not everybody. And the average for most moms is about 2 to 3 days. They will start seeing some milk come in, but there are definitely moms who it takes 5 to 7 days for their milk to come in from the colostrum. And during that time, colostrum isn't always a lot or very satisfying to babies. A lot of times it's only about a teaspoon. So it's very, very important what they're getting, because that is giving the babies the immunity they need. It's starting with getting their tummy bacteria going. So it's really good. But like I say, it's not necessarily milk, and it's not necessarily satisfying for baby. And a lot of times babies will drop weight in the first few days. A lot of it is from birth, being submerged in the fluid for so long. So a lot of it is a water loss, but it can be that the babies are losing weight because they've had really nothing to eat for all this time. So just be open to the idea that your baby may need to be fed in the meantime while you're waiting for your milk to come in. And, you know, a lethargic, tired baby is not good. It's not always, oh, my baby's so good, she sleeps for 12 hours. Well, at the beginning, that may not be such a good situation. You would like your baby to be more alert. And sometimes to do that, you need to do supplemental feedings for the baby, and work on getting your baby strong, getting your milk supply good, and together the two of you can go from there. So supplemental feeding is not bad. So, and there's supplemental feeding that you can do. You can pump. Sometimes the moms will pump and use that milk to feed their baby. And formulas really are not poison. There's lots of good formulas that you can use temporarily, or, you know, if you want to do top-ups for a long time. So don't be afraid to consider formula. They use it in the hospital all the time. So I don't think people should be so worried about it. The other point is there's lots of ways to feed your baby. So sometimes people hear, well, as soon as you give the baby the bottle, they're never going to go in the breast. They love the bottle. And so a lot of moms get worried about that. And they're very, you know, strong-minded about not wanting to give baby a bottle. That's fine if that's your choice and that's the research you've done and how you feel, and that's great. There are other ways to feed your baby without a bottle. And you're just trying to get, at the first few days, a little bit into the baby each time. It doesn't have to be a ton. If you're getting 5 to 10 mils of either pumped milk or formula into your baby every 2 hours, your baby is going to be strong enough to keep working on the breast to build up your milk supply. Now, some of the ways that you can transfer food to the baby, one way is cup feeding. So if you are adverse to using bottles, you can talk to your lactation person, you can talk to your doula, and you can find out how to do cup feeding. So for me, it's a little bit messy, but I'm keeping my eye on the prize, and that is keeping baby fed. So if it's a little messy, that's fine, but we just need to get a little bit of food into the baby. And the second way is tube feeding. A lot of times what you'll do is you'll have a little tube that is connected to a syringe, and you pour your formula or breast milk into that. It goes through a little tube, and a lot of people will tape the tube to their finger and then give the baby the finger with the tube. So that's a second way that you can feed baby. It's nice if dad helps, because that again is messy when you're trying to hold a tube, hold your baby, and get your finger in their mouth. So it's nice to have someone to help you with both of those ways of getting some nutrition to our baby. The next point, I'm not sure. Oh, all right. So I don't think most moms are ready for how tender your breasts and your nipples can be. Not everybody, but there's a lot of moms who find their breasts not just slightly discomfort, they find it painful. And so you will have to know that's normal. You have to know that you do a lot of breast massage. You have to know that your breasts are learning. This is a new thing. And for most people putting baby on the breast, their nipples are also take time to get used to this new sensation of having a little muncher on their breast. And so a lot of people will say, my breast hurt me so bad, the letdown is so painful, I get pins and needles. Or they'll say, when the baby latches, I can't stand the pain, it's terrible. So what we do suggest, like I say, is some breast massage before you start feeding baby, and trying to work through letdown. If baby's not ready, you can always express some milk so your breasts don't get quite as large and full. And there's other ways that you can work on keeping your breasts comfortable. With the nipples, what we do suggest is making sure the baby's latching well. There's ways that babies can inflict a lot of pain on moms if they're not giving the big mouth to latch well. And also there are some creams that you can use if you do find your nipples are tender or cracking. And that is not a problem to transfer to baby. It's not, you're not putting cream in their mouth. It's stuff that is totally safe for the babies and for yourself. So you just have to give yourself a little bit of time. And like I say, this doesn't always come in the first day or two. Some people are still working on their breastfeeding for 2 weeks even, you know, to get the idea, the hang of it. And And breastfed babies do eat every 2 to 3 hours. So that's the thing, is that, you know, it's really exhausting for a lot of moms. You've just gone through having your baby, and now you're home and you're exhausted. And now you have to be ready for this little person every 2 to 3 hours. And breastfeeding isn't a 5 or 10 minute event for most moms, especially at the beginning, because you are going to be putting baby to breast 5 minutes, to breast 5 minutes, to breast 5 minutes. You've got diapering and burping in between. And so at the beginning, it can be half an hour to 45 minutes as you two are learning this skill, as your milk is developing. And then eventually, it shouldn't be quite that long, but you should always give yourself at least 20 minutes to do a full breastfeeding. So what I always suggest is getting your knowledge, getting your help really early on. Don't wait until your nipples are cracked and your breasts are killing you and your baby's lost weight and you're just a mess. Reach out early. And there are really good lactation consultants. There's lots of good information you can get. And there's ways of making things easier for yourself. So being ready for breastfeeding, having a comfortable pillow, being in a comfortable position, learning cues of when baby is going to wake and be hungry, and give yourself that 5 minutes to use the washroom, get a drink, grab a snack, to spend that time with baby as comfortably as you can. So just know you're going to be in that position for 20 minutes to half an hour. So make sure it's a good, comfortable 20 minutes to half an hour. And like I say, lactation consultants can see usually quite early if there's a latch problem, show you how to latch your baby, show you how to shape your breast, check for tongue ties. They can give you a lot of good information so you don't have to go through the tough times of finding out the hard way. If you start off with good information, a lot of times your breastfeeding will be a lot easier and a lot less stressful. One of the things that I think is so important is to say that the moms really need to enjoy this time and do that without distraction. So a lot of the moms are trying to juggle a phone in their hand or an iPad to catch up on emails while they're trying to feed the baby. And, you know, the baby's getting frustrated and mom's distracted. But this really and truly should be quality time for mom and baby. Try and spend that 20 minutes just loving your baby. Talk to your baby, cuddle your baby, and really enjoy this time, and try not to have distractions. They say even the flashing, the flickering of your phone or the TV or any of these things is distracting. And so just try and find a nice quiet place where you're comfortable. Just really enjoy this time, because they don't stay little for long. So that's another little tip for people.
Thank you. Those are really great tips, and they definitely don't stay little for long, do they?
They certainly don't. They certainly don't.
Awesome. Great tips, and so much more that we can say about breastfeeding and things that can make it easier, and how to plan and all of that kind of stuff. But we just want to give some tips and tricks and then continue the conversation as we go. So next, we would like to hear from Lisa Scott, who is a postpartum doula on our team. And her training as a nurse led her into doula work. So that's pretty exciting. And you can find Lisa photographing special moments from weddings to newborns on her off days. So she loves photography and all of that kind of fun stuff. And Lisa's going to talk to us about exhaustion and how we really don't plan for how tired we are going to be. So take it away, Lisa.
First off, I wanted to say hi to everyone. I know this is my first time on here. It's a very exciting time for me. I'm very happy to be a part of this journey. So if I'm a little nervous, that's the only reason why. This Zoom chat thing is sort of new to me, as I'm sure it is for many. But yeah, I'm just going to touch base on how to plan for exhaustion. And I think that this picture is adorable as well as perfect. It kind of explains it pretty well. So, first off, I wanted to talk about sleep deficit from before birth. So, obviously, mom and dad both are carrying a child in two separate ways. I think everybody's going to be feeling some exhaustion from the point of right from the beginning, right till the end of the journey. And that doesn't seem to end once we have that new baby join the family. So that's definitely something to prepare yourself for. It couldn't have been said better earlier when Sharon was talking about, having this set in stone plan, thinking it's going to kind of go this way. And it's good to be open to all avenues and understand that, it's not always going to go according to plan. That's for sure. There are some fortunate ones out there who do get the perfect situation, but that's not a very high percentage. So I think that that's something important to acknowledge, that you're going to get that sleep deficit for sure. And also something when Sharon had brought up, if you are feeding via breastfeeding or tube feeding or formula feeding, any of the ways that there is that baby may take or may be preferred for the new parents, it's important to understand that that baby's going to be feeding 2 to 3 hours. So it's going to be consistent, and definitely is going to be an effort on your energy levels as new parents. So that's definitely something to plan for, because that is going to come up very quick. The next set is going to come up very quick. It's all going to kind of happen very quickly. And before you know it, the end of the day is here and we're still continuing through the night. So that is definitely a key point to plan for when it comes to exhaustion. And then you're going to have to also, remind yourself that you're going to be physically recovering. So, you have that new birth and you have this new baby and it's joined your family, and, the excitement of the level of that you're feeling is also going to bring up that point. But you're also going to be physically recovering, and your body is going to be going through a lot of new shifts, a lot of new changes. You just spent time growing and nurturing this little flower, and now you have your little flower, and it's time to get that flower growing, get the get the leaves coming out, get everything happening. So you're gonna have some physical recovery on your mind. So definitely plan for that part of exhaustion. That is going to be key. And then there's some really great points on how to manage your exhaustion. So this is something that, we at Helping Hands, I know we're set to help with. So we're very excited about that. But some key tips and tricks are definitely to sleep in shifts. So remind yourselves that, that point is going to be coming up, and take that shift work, have a little bit of a schedule, depending on what kind of type of personality you are. It's always great to have a little bit of a plan, so you're not going into it worried about the fact that you didn't get a chance to sleep, or dad didn't get a chance to sleep. It's definitely equal on both partners or anybody that we may be going through this journey with. So sleeping in shifts is definitely very important. Also sleeping when baby sleeps. So I know that's a huge point. When baby is new and they're in and out of sleep throughout the majority of the day, it's important to let yourself realize and acknowledge that you can take that break as well. I know a lot of new parents go through that wave of feeling like they need to be up and apart and active 24/7, and it's pretty hard to get, or you just want to watch that little miracle sleep and you just want to stare at them. But it's definitely important to remember that when baby sleeps, it's a great time to get some shut eye. I know that's something I'm going to have to practice because I'm not very good at naps, but napping is good. And then some other great little things are kind of some sleep aids. So you want to kind of prepare the room and the ambiance for yourself, but for baby as well. So you want to have those sanctuaries kind of in both avenues. So using blackout curtains, I know, are a great way to kind of bring that darkness in. When I used to work as a nurse, that was key for me doing shift work, at night or during the day. That shift that your body goes through, blackout curtains are blessed. They make you feel like it's the light. You can't see the light shining in from outside, so it's quite easy. White noise is another good one. I know there's a lot of gadgets out there today that are great sleep aids for you and for your little ones. So definitely something to keep in the room. Eye masks. So any sort of sleep aid that really help you relax and rejuvenate, and it's gonna feel gotta bring those spa elements in. They'll definitely help you out. So that's definitely important. I know that there's also set sleep aids for the little ones that you can help with in the beginning process that will help you to really let that sleep happen, or try to let that sleep happen for as long as possible, right? Try to get that going, and then get help. So, not all of us have like true friends, true family, or maybe not a partner in the situation. We all come from different walks of life, different situations. But whatever the case may be, you want to definitely plan to get some help. And that's what we are definitely best suited for as a doula, is to provide you that help, to provide you that support, to let you get that sleep that you need to really get that recovery going, and eliminate that exhaustion, and kind of transition your way into a new life. I hope I did okay.
You did awesome. Thank you, Lisa. That was
No problem.
was so great. And, one of the things that clients say to us a lot is that we were able to help facilitate sleep, like help them get sleep and help them get rest. And people don't realize how important it is. And someone said to me that a form of torture is sleep deprivation. So they used to, back, in the horrible times when they were torturing people, they would keep them awake for hours and hours and hours and hours, because it's
awful.
messes with your mind, and, you just feel horrible. So
yeah, it's definitely a new level of exhaustion. That's for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Something that you can't plan for until you're in the moment. So definitely keep an open mind to that.
Yes. Yeah. And get help for sure. Thank you for that. Very, very helpful. So last but certainly not least is our postpartum doula, Odessa. And Odessa is always continuing her studies from a range of natural mobilities to now she actually has her diploma as a registered massage therapist, which is very exciting. We're very proud of her. And before doula work, she was a performer in Cirque du Soleil, which I think is the coolest. We have doulas that have so many talents and have so many different things in their past lives. It's quite fun. So Odessa is going to talk about the postpartum period, and this isn't what I expected when it comes to bonding with your baby. So I'm excited to hear from you, Odessa, and take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Okay,
sounds
great.
like you have a little friend in there.
I do.
That's awesome.
Thank you. So oftentimes when we think about the postpartum period, we get these exactly pictures of, what looks, fabulous, and, where everyone is working well and we're in love, and, things are going as positive as they can be immediately. I'm going to love my baby right away. And that isn't always the case, right? It isn't always love at first sight. Sometimes, based off of the situation and the circumstances that you're birthing in, it can take time to fall in love, right? So some of the reasons why you might be experiencing a delay could be based off of maybe some kind of negative birth experience, some kind of trauma, but also as well, taking medication can sometimes just slow down the natural process that the hormones go through to be able to create the rise in oxytocin and build the bonding nature that happens between mom and baby. And so that's really important to keep in mind when you're approaching labor, as you're going through birth, and when you receive your new baby. And you may have these expectations, and know that the circumstances that surround your birth experience will influence how you're able to bond with your baby. Can we go to the next slide? And oftentimes, based off of the amount of interaction that you're having with your baby and with the people around you, you can feel touched out. And this looks like, or it sounds like, just you don't want anybody around, you don't want anybody touching, you don't want anybody close to you. And so this can also create that need to have distance, whereas in your mind you're wanting to create distance. And so all of these things are what is contributing to the different kinds of experiences you can have. And so you need to give yourself time, you need to give baby time, you need to give your birthing partner time to be able to adjust to what's going on around you right now. So one of the ways that you can increase your bonding with baby is to do more skin to skin. So just a side note, in the case of where mom is not able to bond with baby for whatever reason, our birthing partner can always remove their clothes and just lie with baby skin to skin. The thermal regulation helps to stabilize the baby's internal ecology, and so just doing that while you're feeding, if your birthing partner is feeding with a bottle, or mom, when you're breastfeeding, when you're nursing or chest feeding your baby, having that skin to skin helps to increase the bonding abilities that you can have with your child. So making sure that you're feeling comfortable in your home environment or wherever it is that you're staying, to be able to stay without your shirt or without your bra, or just kind of be able to feel comfortable and confident while you're doing skin to skin with your child. Making sure that you have time for self-care is a big piece of the puzzle that I find we all tend to forget about sometimes. We think, okay, well, baby is here, this new experience is beginning, and I've got to jump into this role of being super mom, of looking good, feeling great, doing all of the things, taking care of my baby, making sure my husband is cared for, dealing with the people who are coming to the house to visit. Like, I'm losing my breath just talking about it, right? So we want to make sure that your care is paramount, and that can look easily like making sure that you're sleeping while baby's sleeping, making sure that you're eating adequate amounts of food, especially if you're going to be breastfeeding. Like, whatever amount of food you're putting into your body to build up to your birth is the same amount of food that you want to be maintaining, because your body needs it. Your body needs it to refuel. Baby needs it to get enough nutrients and minerals. So the rest is important for you to be able to recoup, right? Your body needs that. And I tell everybody about this image that I keep on seeing of like a woman who just has a baby, like, and comes home from the hospital and jumps on a bike and exercising, and that's kind of how we behave, so taking more time to, spend, in quiet and solitude while baby's sleeping, resting, and making sure that you're eating enough food to be able to have the energy to sustain yourself while baby is, connecting to you and you're connecting with baby. And one of the last but crucial pieces is understanding that accepting help from others is going to give you permission to relax into the time, the very precious time that you have with your baby, because of the need to want to perform, especially, that this question of feminine or women, when we relate it back to, my children are asking the youngest one, they know, when you relate it back to birth and, having your baby, and in these moments, these crucial moments postpartum, this is like the quietest time for a woman to spend. And so if you're able to accept help from others to facilitate this portion of your postpartum journey, it will extend that those roots deeper, you know, and wider. In some traditions, women are not to stand up or do anything for 40 days, you know? And so just wanting to know that people are around to help you, so you don't have to do it all. You shouldn't have to do it all. It's okay to rely on those around you for support.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this is a really important one to end on, because there's so many people that believe that as soon as baby arrives, it's this feeling of bliss and love. And for a lot of people it is, but there are things that affect that as well. And, you know, going back to how you experience your birth, sometimes if things are not going the way that you wanted, then you have to close off your emotions a little bit. And you can't just turn it back on like a light switch after baby arrives. So it can take a little bit of time. Plus, you know, there is love at first sight, but most people, when they meet their partner, it takes time to build that love and get to know that person. So, you know, you've just met this new person, and there's a relationship building. And I think when you were talking about accepting help from others, communicating to those others that it might not be hold my baby for me kind of help. A lot of people who come over, it's like, oh, I'll hold the baby for you. It's like, well, maybe you need time to do the skin to skin, or go into a quiet room and feed your baby, but know that when you come out, your dishes will be clean, or there will be a lunch made for you, those types of things. So important to accept help, but also be clear with that help in what is the most effective way to support you. So thank you, Odessa. So that takes us to the end of our presentation today.